Hello everyone, I'm Krasi, and today I will talk about this very long-awaited blessing event. It is when Jupiter will enter his own sign Sagittarius. Now, of course, I'm talking about the sidereal coordinates, which are astronomical. Literally, what is happening on the sky in November is that Jupiter is going to enter his own sign Sagittarius. We've been waiting for this moment for 12 years, especially, to receive the full blessing of Jupiter in terms of making talismans, but I have another video on this which you may like to see. Now, I have my list with the root of Jupiter actually. So on the 9th of November, Jupiter is entering Sagittarius, but his path is not that even as you can imagine, because while he will be in Sagittarius, of course, he will be going through different heliac phases. First of all, he will become invisible. Interestingly, also, we know that he will be in a conjunction with, there will be this very big conjunction with Jupiter, with Ketu, with Venus, with the invisible Saturn, and with Pluto. So Jupiter is going through his own sign, but a lot will be happening in the meanwhile. So I will give you all these dates, they're interesting, and then I will also tell you how this will influence each of the 12 ascendants. So on the 9th of October, Jupiter is entering Sagittarius. And when he will enter Sagittarius, of course, this is absolute blessing, and it is a long-awaited moment for many of us who are aware of this and trying to benefit from this particular transit. So in the sign of Sagittarius, of course, it is the sign that he is ruling, and it is beautiful, but he will not be alone there, and this is making his route a bit complex, because when he enters Sagittarius, not in a tight conjunction, but still he will see there Ketu and Saturn and Pluto. Ketu is associated with our past expertises, what we are detached with in this incarnation, what we are not aiming at anymore in this incarnation. So Ketu is very spiritual. Ketu and Rahu, the dragon's head, Rahu, and the dragon's tail, Ketu, both are very, very spiritual, but Ketu is very interesting because Ketu is the tail of the dragon, and Ketu is associated more with the past than with the present and with the future. So Ketu is very spiritual. Jupiter is very spiritual. He is the spiritual guru, and he is into his own sign. So it will be very much emphasized on the spirituality of the people, of all of us. But here I will tell you, I had in mind even to start with, but I've forgotten. A very interesting, amazing story that I learned almost immediately when years ago I started to study astrology. And this story is about Jupiter. It is about the Emperor Augustinus, the Roman Emperor Augustinus. What is the story? Now, when he was a kid, he went with his friend to a Greek island. And we're talking here, I'm not sure which century, but could be that it is 4th, 5th century BC. So he went to a Greek island together with a friend to visit astrologer. And then only when they said to the astrologer his date of birth, the astrologer immediately bowed. Later on, they also said the time of birth of the future Emperor Augustine. Note that at that time, nobody knew that he would become emperor. What astrologer saw in his chart that is so significant was that Jupiter was exalted in his own sign of Cancer. Jupiter was on midheaven, and the emperor, the future emperor at that time, a kid, had the sun on the eastern horizon, on the ascendant. So Jupiter, this small story, which I never forgot since my teacher told me this when I just started studying astrology. So this story is to tell you that Jupiter is definitely associated with power. Power because of his hierarchy, being just before Saturn on the planetary spheres, so very, very high hierarchy, very beneficial, beautiful, benefic influences of pure power, pure philosophical teachings, knowledge of the purest. There is no bad inclusion here. There is no, with Jupiter, there is no evil, there is no dirt. It is pure, beautiful, spiritual knowledge, high philosophical studies, matter of high moral values and justice. This is Jupiter. Jupiter is signifying the children in the horoscope and the gains and the and power, very much about power. So this story of mine, even though it was associated with his exaltation place, is very much applicable to his own place of Sagittarius, because Jupiter is power for good, not the power that can be misused, like when you have Saturn is also associated with power, but some can use it for totalitarian purposes, and for misuse of power. Jupiter is this very pure, beautiful, innocent, lofty ideals and power. So he is entering his own sign of Sagittarius to gain back his power. For quite some time, for approximately 1 year, he was in the sign of Scorpio, where he's not completely lost, but his nature is different. And in the sign of Scorpio, he is in his own triplicity. So he's not completely out of powers and dignities, but he's definitely different. Now he's gaining back completely his power with the small limitation of Ketu there, who will give him a bit more of spiritual color and essence and detail. And of course, Saturn is also there. And Saturn will be there with him up until January 2020. So, 9th of November, Jupiter is entering Sagittarius. And on 30th of November already, he's becoming invisible. This is a key thing, because Jupiter becoming invisible is changing completely his nature. The invisible Jupiter is not anymore visible on the sky. He's hiding in the rays of the sun. And being invisible means also that everything associated with his beauty and blessing will not be anymore that emphasized on, will not be that present for us anymore. Everything that is associated with Jupiter is going to be hidden when he is invisible. I will talk separately a lot about his invisibility, because this is a very important heliacal phase not to miss. So from the 30th of November up until 29th of January 2020, Jupiter is not going to be visible for us. With this, his blessing is not going to be visible. We will not really feel his support. Now, of course, in the sign of Sagittarius, when he will meet Saturn, this in some text is called royal conjunction, and some people who have this conjunction in their chart would be rich and blessed with wealth and with easy gains and with luck in terms of the material. Now, in December, he is making this exact conjunction with, when he will be invisible, with Ketu, with Venus, with Saturn also invisible, and with Pluto, and this will definitely influence the world. But Saturn is also going to be invisible at that time when they will meet. So I see this as a very spiritual stuff that will kind of change on mundane level our spiritual, more will come up, more knowledge, more hidden knowledge will come up. And but we may know about this more once Jupiter becomes visible, but certainly the process will go on during his invisibility, and especially when this big conjunction is going to take place. To this big conjunction, I'm going to devote separate time. And then on the 7th of April 2020, Jupiter is entering the sign of Capricorn, and there he is detriment, because he's against his sign of exaltation. He's not very pleased there. Saturn is the boss there. Visible Saturn, Jupiter and Mars will meet there, and this is happening in April 2020. And when this will be happening, this is a bit tricky conjunction, not very benefic. On the 19th of May, he goes again retrograde up until September 2020. And on the 29th of June, he's back into his sign of Sagittarius. This is just what I'm briefing you on the path of Jupiter, as it is a very important path. I will also, this is my overview, but in any case, my overview is to tell you that his nature is beautiful. His entrance in his own sign is royal, blessing, beautiful, and it's a reason to celebrate. Now, of course, I will tell you ascendant per ascendant how the different ascendants will experience that, but this will be felt on mundane level. This will be felt by each one of us, and especially interesting will be also the moment when Saturn sidereally will enter his own sign of Capricorn. Imagine how wonderful. Jupiter will be in his own sign, and then on the other hand, Saturn is entering also his own sign. This will be very interesting, and Saturn certainly deserves attention, as especially the people who had him on their ascendants, descendants, or on a key position had a lot of restrictions and limitations and maybe difficulties. So expect this beautiful blessing to happen to all of us. It will impact, depends of course how Jupiter is placed in the natal charts, but it will certainly impact the markets for better, and the wealth and the money also on individual level. But once again, very much depends how your Jupiter is placed in your sign, how the sign of Sagittarius is placed, which house it is ruling. But I will brief you on how the sidereal entrance of Jupiter into the sign of Sagittarius will influence us, the 12 ascendants. All right, let's start with Aries. Now, on 9th of November 2019, when Jupiter is entering for ascendant Aries, when Jupiter is entering his sign of Sagittarius, he will be entering your 9th house. And with this, he's directly aspecting your ascendant, and with this, he's bringing true blessing in all means. This can be very good related to your gains, can be wonderful, especially when it comes to studies and spiritual awareness, and can bring spiritual events or changes in your belief system, or clarifying or bringing answers to questions that you had. This is for ascendant Aries. This will be beautifully felt by you. And because the 9th house is so lucky in general, it will be a very lucky 1 year period for you, with these nuances that you will receive while Jupiter is invisible. Then you may not feel really very much his influences. And as I told you, he will be invisible from 30th of November until 29th of January 2020. And also when he's retrograde, these are the nuances that will, of course, impact you. But in general, the entrance of Jupiter on your 9th house is a blessing for lucky communication abroad, for studies, for clarifying knowledge and questions that you wouldn't have answers for before. So it is a very beautiful transit of the most beautiful planet for you. And certainly he will be also kind of protector, like he will protecting you from difficult events that may happen otherwise. So this is really a blessing for you for this 1 year while he will be aspecting your ascendant. Okay, this was very briefly for the sign for Aries ascendant. Let's see Taurus. Now for you, Jupiter is entering Sagittarius, which is your 8th house. With this, you are not receiving directly the blessing of Jupiter, because he's not really aspecting your ascendant. So with this, you may not feel directly the blessing in terms of protection, but this can be very fruitful for your partner. He may have financial benefits. Also for you, you may receive, depends of course how Jupiter is placed in your natal chart, but you may receive unexpected, sudden incomes, profits. So in this sense, this can be very positive and beneficial. But in terms of direct protection or direct feeling of joy and support, you may not experience it this way, because Jupiter is not directly influencing through an aspect the sign of Taurus. However, financially can be beneficial for your partner, and also can bring interesting incomes, unexpected or sudden or surprising. So in this regard, this can be very, very nice. Of course, can also lead to some spiritual insights also for you, because this is your 8th house, the house of transformation, rebirth, death. He will certainly have some impact on this for good, but not that very direct support and protection and influences that he might have had if he was influencing you through your ascendant through an aspect. However, you can benefit from his energies in a different way, and also, of course, for good. Now let's see, this was for Taurus, and let's see Ascendant Gemini. Now you really need to celebrate Gemini Ascendant in November, because Jupiter was, Saturn was for a very long time on your descendant, and with this, of course, he brought all limitations and restrictions that you know about. I don't have to tell you even. And now Jupiter is coming there to bring to reward you for your patience, for your for the limitations and the restrictions and the difficulties that you went through. So Jupiter is going to have this role for you. If Saturn restricted you in terms of private life, relationships, career, contracts, agreements, Jupiter is coming to bring their peace and to help you and support you, and will bring blessing for sure. So you will be really rewarded for your patience. Especially better you will feel in January when Saturn moves away to the sign of Capricorn. But Jupiter is also already bringing the good news, the reasons to celebrate. If you had restrictions related to health, he will also come to bring improvement for sure. So this is a very important transit for you, very, very good transit for you. Can result in beautiful events related to your private life, or to agreements, or solving court cases, for example, that you've been waiting for. But once again, remember, this depends on your natal chart. But in general, this is a very blessing, a very good transit for you. So this was about the sign of Gemini, and let's see now the sign of Cancer. For you, Jupiter is entering his own sign of Sagittarius, which is representing your 6th house. And the 6th house is your routine life, possible conflicts, diseases as well. So if you've been suffering for a while from different disharmonies in relation to health, or if you felt that the environment at work or your routine environment is a bit hostile or is lacking harmony, well, in November 9th, when Jupiter is entering your 6th house, he is going to be there to soften everything, to improve, to bring peace, to bring joy. To if there were health issues that you complained from, he would come to help you also there. So this is a beautiful transit when it comes to the environment, to your routine daily work environment, and also to your relationship with subordinates, for example, and to health, to solve conflicts as well. Now, because he is not directly influencing your ascendant, you may not feel this feeling of joy and blessing and sudden peace in your soul that you might have experienced if he was influencing your ascendant by direct aspect. However, it is already good that he will be helpful very much in your routine life, in your work environment, in health-wise as well. So also for you, this is a very good transit, and you should be very pleased, and you will certainly benefit from, in terms of health, in terms of everyday environment. It will be a true blessing. So this was for Ascendant Cancer, and now we are seeing the Ascendant Leo. Now for you, luckily, because I know I've been repeating in my daily and weekly reviews that you need to be watchful, that you need to be attentive towards children. And my reasoning was, of course, that Saturn was there and Ketu and Pluto on your 5th house, which is very much responsible also for your children. The 5th house is about creative studies, it's about your creativity, your joy, it's about pleasure, it's about studies, it is about luck. This is the house of the good fortune, so it's a lucky place. But since it is responsible for children, in November 9th, when Jupiter is entering your 5th house, you will be relieved, and it is very good. This will be a lucky placement, aspecting your ascendant, aspecting your descendant. It will bring luck in general. You will be a bit less worried in relation to children as well, because for the reasons that I just explained. This will bring beautiful luck in general, but also in relation to your creative studies. You will be rewarded with knowledge or answers that you've been searching for. In relation to gains, you will have luckier opportunities in relation to gains and incomes. You will feel that you have muse, and your creative mind will be activated, or desire to study, or answers will come. You will be also blessed in your private life in relation to your agreements, contracts, and private life, because he's aspecting your descendant, your partnerships. So you have all reasons to celebrate in November 9th once Jupiter enters your 5th house. So this was about Ascendant Leo, and let's see now Ascendant Virgo. Now for you also, in November 9th, Jupiter is entering your 4th house, which is ruled by Sagittarius, for Ascendant Virgo. Now, when he enters there, he will be aspecting by square your ascendant and your descendant, and also your midheaven, because midheaven or 10th house, because midheaven can vary, but will be aspecting your 10th house and your home. With this, he will bring peace at home, joyful experiences. With this, he will influence your career. He will influence your ascendant. He will bring peace to your soul and less worries in relation to home and career. And of course, because it is his aspect in an axis, he may be influencing you in every direction. He may be influencing also your 7th house with your relationship and with your agreements. So he's from the 4th house, he's basically watching everywhere. He's throwing aspects and glimpses towards your 1st house, your 7th, also your 10th house. So this is a very blessing transit of Jupiter for you. So when in November 9th, when he enters your 4th house, you will start feeling his blessing career-wise, home-wise, relationship-wise, and you will have peace in your soul if you've been worried up until now for a while. So wonderful. Now let's see, this was for Ascendant Virgo. Let's see Ascendant Libra. Now for you, Jupiter, when on the 9th of November he enters the sign of Sagittarius, he will be entering your 3rd house. And your 3rd house is related to your communication, creative communication, siblings, travel, studies, it's a lot, speeches, your negotiation skills. So, and also from your third house, he will be aspecting by harmonious sextile your ascendant, and by harmonious trine your descendant. So he will bring a blessing to your own nature, to your own feeling of joy, and he will also bring blessing to your partnership, to your romantic partner, to your husband or wife, and he will certainly bring very beneficial energies to relationship with siblings, for example, improving relationship with siblings. This can be a good opportunity. From your third house, he can create opportunities to create incomes through negotiations or contacts abroad. So this is very nice influences for you when Jupiter is entering your third house. You may find answers to your spiritual questions now. You may find good moments to continue your studies. Then you will have beneficial 1 year period with all those nuances, of course, which I explained in the beginning, while Jupiter will be going through his different phases. However, this period is a blessing period for you. And this was for the ascendant of Libra. And now we're seeing the ascendant of Scorpio. You had, you still have, of course, but up until November 9th, Jupiter is on your ascendant. He was a good blessing for you while he was on your ascendant, but he will still be good for you because on the 9th of November, he will be entering your second house and will be positive in terms of finances. When he is on your second house, he will not directly aspect your ascendant or descendant, or he will not directly be aspecting your personality or your relationship, but he will have good influences for your family roots, for relationship with family. He will also have very good influences in terms of finances. So he on your second house can create good opportunities for negotiations, for improving your financial status. For example, this particular year, while from the 9th of November until for approximately 1 year period, Jupiter will be in the sign of Sagittarius, your second house. So you're not losing that much when he's leaving your ascendant, because he will be giving his blessing on another place of your life. And it will be mainly financial and improving relationship with family members. Okay, and now comes the most interesting and relief for the sign of Sagittarius, because you went through a lot while Saturn is on your ascendant. Since November 2017, Saturn on your ascendant with Pluto, Ketu, quite a big stuff. And now in November 9th, Jupiter is entering your ascendant, which is his own sign. And for you, you need to celebrate the most. You're the luckiest of all ascendants now, after you've been through a lot with all those Saturnine limitations, restrictions. I'm sure that you learn a lot. You learned discipline while he was on your ascendant. I'm sure that you learned time orientation. I'm sure that you learned moral values if you've been lacking them. I'm sure that Saturn taught you a lot. Now you will be benefiting, and you will have a reason to celebrate indeed once Jupiter on 9th of November enters your ascendant. It will be a relief, true relief for you, and a reason to be very pleased. 1 year you will have the relief of Jupiter on your ascendant, and more relieved even you will be when Saturn in January 20 moves away from your ascendant and enters your second house. It will bring relief in any case, in any sense. If you suffered a possible relationship issues, now you may have the opportunity to solve. If you had health disharmonies, now is the moment for you also to receive help from Jupiter and to improve. So in any sense, depends very much on your natal chart. Jupiter is bringing blessing and improvement and reward for your long patience of 2.5 years while Saturn was on your ascendant. So this is a period that will be certainly very beneficial and cannot be otherwise. So look forward to this. It's just almost less than a month left, and on November 9th, Jupiter is entering your ascendant. If depends, of course, how Sagittarius, how Jupiter and Saturn are placed on your chart. Depends on many astrological factors. But Jupiter, when he meets Saturn, it can be also very positive financially. But this depends, as I'm saying, on your natal chart. And now we're seeing the sign of Capricorn. For you, Jupiter is entering your 12th house, because for the ascendant Capricorn, Sagittarius is ruling the 12th house, and with this Jupiter is entering your 12th house to join your ascendant ruler, which will be there up until January 2020, excuse me. And now Jupiter, if you had some desire for self-isolation or disharmony related to health, Jupiter is coming there to help, to give a helping hand for sure. Now, indeed, he's not aspecting you directly, but indirectly, because he's joining your ascendant ruler, he still will be of a good help. When he's entering, even when Saturn enters your ascendant and Jupiter remains for 1 year on your 12th house, he will still be supportive in terms of health. He may be supportive in terms of spirituality and in terms of answers that you may receive from the spirit world, answers that you've been searching for quite a lot. He may also influence you in terms of empathic work, helping others. He will not directly influence your moods. He may not directly bring joy and happiness, but indirectly he will also be helpful in terms of health and improvement. He may start improving. If you were in a melancholic status, he will also be helpful. So this particular transit of Jupiter on your 12th house indirectly will influence you for good. Also, the sign of Capricorn. And let's see now the sign of Aquarius. For you, Jupiter is entering your 11th house, because for the sign of Aquarius, Sagittarius is ruling 11th house, and with this Jupiter in the sign of Sagittarius will influence your social life, your social status, relationship with children, and your gains and your plans for good. Could be that you're resolving issues that you couldn't resolve before. Could be that you're improving friendships that you wanted to improve before, or you gain new friendships. Could be that you need to be less worried for your children because they are blessed now better than a while ago. In terms of finances, this can be very beneficial. In terms of gains, lucky gains, very beneficial. He is occupying your 11th house, and this is the house of the good spirit. So spiritual awareness, spiritual answers. You may now find friends which fit better your personality. That will be those spiritual friends that you've been searching for. You may have lucky opportunities for making money, lucky opportunities for your children may have. Blessing. It's a true blessing, Jupiter entering your 11th house. Beautiful, beautiful aspect for you. This will bring you internal, intrinsic sense of joy and happiness, and you will feel good for a period of 1 year. But let's not forget that Jupiter is going through different phases. So there will be those accents that will vary. But still, in general, it's a very good transit, very blessing, very nice for you. And now this was for Ascendant Aquarius. Let's see Ascendant Pisces. For you, Jupiter beautifully will enter your 10th house. You most probably had limitations and restrictions due to Saturn in your 10th house in relation to career, communication at home, maybe also with parents. Plans were a bit stuck, maybe like projects and plans. You felt that you are a little bit stuck. Now Jupiter is entering your 10th house to come and solve issues for you, to come and solve career issues, to come and solve things that were frozen in relation to communication with superiors. He will, from your 10th house, he will be watching towards your ascendant and descendant. So he will be influencing for good your personality to bring sense of joy and happiness and natural good feeling. And he will also be influencing your relationship, your contractual relationships, and also the relationship with your partner, with your romantic partner. So he will be there to solve things. So it's a very good transit also for you. Especially good will be not only on the 9th of November when Jupiter is entering your 10th house, but especially good will be in January when Saturn is leaving and will enter your 11th house, his own place. This will be also interesting and very, very beneficial. So with this, I am completing my overview of Jupiter entering the sign of Sagittarius in November 9th. And yes, your comments are welcome. And if you like to study astrology with us, look at the links below. So see you next time.